So it's really hard to deny that the BYD Sealion 6 really indeed make a splash in the Philippine market. And so naturally, with that in mind, competitors would be putting out their own Sealion 6 rival in order to capitalize in their success. The question now is taking a Jetour, see what I did there? Jetour, detour? Okay, fine, sorry na. Is the Jetour X70 IDM worth considering for your money? That's exactly what we're going to be finding out in this car's full review. More on that later. For now, if you like what you're seeing, or even these kinds of reviews, why not hit subscribe and hit the bell? What a car! What a car this thing! So first things first, let's talk about the way the X70 IDM looks. So sa totoo lang, this isn't exactly a brand new car, or rather it's not a completely new car from the ground up, because the Jetour X70 has existed since around 2018 kung di nagkakamali. So essentially what it got is a heavy facelift, pero to their credit, I actually do like the way the X70 IDM looks. So you have your new LED headlights, and then you also have nice LED daytime running lights here, along with this elegant mesh grille. And then as you move towards the side of this car, you're gonna be seeing here nice 19-inch wheels, which in an era na with brands offering two-tone alloy wheels, I actually find it a bit refreshing for them to offer silver wheels. Especially with this multi-spoke finish, it really does look pretty nice and really suits the car's jade paint. And if you're gonna be buying this car, I really do recommend getting this paint for your X70. And then you also have a faux vent here, so wala itong aerodynamic function, and this is pretty much just here for the sake of aesthetics. And then you have a rising belt line here, kind of similar to the Hyundai Santa Fe before nung fluidic sculpture era nila, so the third generation Santa Fe. But overall, though the front end looks very striking, pero itong side profile niya, I guess it's a bit more conventional compared to the way the front end looks. Now, as you're gonna move towards the rear end, as typical of Chinese cars these days, you have full with LED taillights, which really accentuates the car's width and thus giving it a dynamic rear end. But anyway, overall, with the way the X70 IDM looks, this has a reasonable amount of style, a reasonable amount of sportiness to basically set itself apart from the other plug-in hybrid SUVs. And so with that in mind, let us now hop inside the Jetour X70 IDM to see what else this car has to offer. So we're currently here inside the Jetour X70 IDM, and as you're going to be seeing with the way this car looks from the outside, you're going to be surprised, genuinely surprised in a good way, with how premium this interior looks. So you have a lot of leatherette surfaces on the dash, and as you're going to notice, talagang this interior is filled with premium materials and even a lot of textured silver surfaces. So here on the doors, you have this nice intricate pattern surrounding the car's Sony sound system. And also, as you're gonna be seeing here, you also have here your power adjustable front seat controls. Worth noting as well is that you also have heated and cooled seats. Yun nga lang, if I were being honest though. Yes, the interior is very stylish, especially as you're gonna be seeing here, there's plenty of ambient LED lighting. But isn't this the steering wheel from a certain German luxury brand based in Stuttgart who bears the three-pointed star logo? Even the Sony sound system, the way the speakers are designed, sense of deja vu aside, this is, I think, a nice interior, especially with your secondary screen here, because in the BYDs, for example, you pretty much have no physical controls in their cars for the air conditioning, but here in the Jetour X70 IDM, meron ka pa ring rotary knobs to basically adjust the car's climate control features. While most of the interior has nice materials and matte textures, I can't help as well na notice this sheer amount of gloss black stuff sa kanang center console. At least you do have a wireless charging pad here, which is actually quite fast in charging my iPhone, so that's also a plus for me. And then, let's now talk about the car's infotainment system itself. So, as for the way it looks, it's pretty basic. I actually prefer the aesthetics dito compared to the BYD's Android-based software. Well, this is also Android-based, but somehow, yung kanyang user interface looks much more elegant, more cohesive, and a bit sleeker compared to the cartoonish graphics that you would find in the BYD infotainment systems. Yun nga lang though, you don't have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto for this infotainment system, though you're supposed to have a dongle in this car. Na yun nga lang, if you're gonna be going through the dongle situation of this car, from what I have been told at least, because walang kasamang dongle itong test unit na nasa akin, you can't use that dongle to stream audio. So yeah, you may have mirroring features, but in terms of the audio functions, like the Waze voice, for example, or even yung sa Spotify mo, it won't be playing any sounds. So that's a sort of limitation with this infotainment system. Going to the digital gauges though, I actually prefer this layout because, again, as you're gonna notice in my BYD reviews, medyo I find their UI to be a bit all over the place. Here kasi in the Jetour system, or rather in the Cherry system, mas cohesive yung presentation ng kanyang mga information. Speaking of which though, again, aping the brand from Stuttgart in the way the UI works, the steering wheel has these capacitive touch buttons. So, like the BlackBerry smartphones, you can swipe up, down, left, and right to change the layout of the gauges. But, yeah, apart from the tech features here up front, let us now go to the car's back seats to see the practicality of the vehicle. Which, as you're going to be seeing here, there is a good amount of space at the back of the Jetour X70. So, legroom is pretty good, and so is headroom. The interior is also pretty wide, as typical of most Chinese cars. You also have a pretty flat floor, so that's good for footroom. And then, you also have two USB-C fast charging ports along with their own aircon vents. Of course, when you lower this, meron kang two cup holders here. And of course, worth mentioning as well is this very large panoramic sunroof. Now, one of the main highlights of the Jetour X70 IDM is the fact na, unlike the BYD Sealion 6, meron itong standard third row. And so with that in mind, ang question mo ngayon dyan is, though this car is a similar size as the BYD Sealion 6, are those third row seats actually worth it? So that's exactly what we're gonna be doing here. Yeah, it's a very small third row. This is of course with the seat moved all the way back. Yeah, headroom's not good. Like, as in, it's really a space meant for kids, yung kanyang third row. So, while you do have a 12-volt outlet here for charging, you don't actually have your own aircon vents. So, it's gonna be a bit stuffy here at some point during your long drive. So, just take that in mind if you're gonna be getting the Jetour X70 IDM solely for the fact na meron siyang third row. As mentioned, kasi laki lang niya ang BYD Sealion 6, and so, as you're gonna be seeing with the cargo space, as expected, maliit yung kanyang cargo area with the third row seats up. Lower down the car's third row and the space increases to a more reasonable amount, which is pretty much on par with every other crossover SUV. But at least yun nga, if you do want the third row, the Jetour X70 IDM will pretty much satisfy that need. Worth mentioning though is the fact na there is another Cherry vehicle. There is also a plug-in hybrid for the same amount of money as this car, but it is a true mid-size crossover SUV with a more modern interior and also a more modern powertrain. That would be the Cherry Tiggo REV, and I'm actually looking forward to reviewing that car eventually. But for now, what we have here yun nga is the Jetour X70 IDM. And so with that in mind, I have to review this car and go to the driver's seat to tell you all about the car's driving experience. So one of the main highlights of this car is that versus the BYD Sealion 6, meron itong turbocharged 1.5-liter gas engine. As a result, it has a more powerful total system output, though in the real world, hindi naman malaki yung kanyang gap versus the BYD Sealion 6. Anyway, one of its other main highlights is that the X70 IDM has a longer electric range, though again in the real world, the difference isn't that significant. What will be a concern for most people though is that this car uses a GBT port. And so dahil hindi ito Type 2, you're gonna need an adapter But just remember nga lang that only a few public EV chargers allow that. And so with all of these details out of the way, how does the Jetour X70 IDM perform on the road? Now as for the driving experience of this Jetour X70 IDM, well, as you would expect, being a Chinese plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, yung kanyang hybrid system is pretty much electric dominant, especially ngayon na meron na akong sarili kong level 1 home charger, and so therefore, I am able to fully take advantage of this car's pure electric range. And then of course, being purely electric driven most of the time, the car is very refined. It's really quiet. More about the quietness factor later, once we go out on the highway. But here right now in low city speeds, meron lang ako napansin with this car's power delivery whenever you're crawling in, let's say, stop-and-go traffic. Because, though again, this is just a minor thing lang naman, pero the throttle delivery can feel a bit jumpy. But yun nga, it's a very minor grip lang naman. But once you're on the move, yun nga, as mentioned, it's a very powerful system. And so, we're gonna be turning right here. Here's a long straight. How is it gonna perform when you floor the car's throttle pedal? Floor. Yeah, so we're currently driving in pure EV mode. I apologize for my tumbler here, causing a bit of noise with the coins sa aking cup holder. But yeah, it's very fast, very responsive. Yun nga, once you're on the move and once binigla mo yung throttle niya, may tapering yung power delivery niya. So that makes it smooth. Once you're at higher speeds or once you demand more out of the system. Interestingly though, unlike in the BYDs, for example, now when you mash the throttle of their cars, this Jetour X70 I think has better tires because nakita naman kanina I floored the throttle pero hindi siya nag-tire screech. So at this point, ang ibig sabihin nun is, so here's a long straight again. Okay, so though hindi siya nag-screech, but ramdam mong kumakamot ng slight yung gulong, but not to a point that it's screeching. So that's good on Jetour's part na the tires are up for the job. And then let's now talk about the car's ride comfort because, well, as usual with a lot of Chinese cars, the suspension is really biased towards comfort. So it's really soft, it's really gonna prioritize a supple ride over sportier driving experience. You have to remember though that this car's a 7-seater, and so there's a degree of slight firmness with the car's rear suspension, but it's not too bad. Sakto lang, it's enough na. When I actually did use this car to carry 6 passengers, hindi siya masyado nakasquat. Like, I like how the suspension dealt with the 7 passengers, or rather 7 occupants including me. And I'm always particular nga lang with chassis tuning, chassis rigidity for example. And here in the X70 IDM nga lang, compared to the BYD Sealion 6 even, I do feel a bit more vibrations with the structure as a whole because even with the pillars, the doors, even with how the rear view mirror area shakes, while the ride is really good, I like the ride quality of this car. Here are undulations. It's doing a good job suppressing the undulations sa mga lubak na yun, but there's just really more vibrations entering through the car structure. Overall though, a normal non-car enthusiast won't notice those things since in the first place, what matters naman is that this car's ride quality is pretty good. And now on to the subject of sportiness and handling. Yeah, this is a crossover, family-oriented crossover. Hindi siya talaga kasing sporty, for example, ng Honda CR-V or Mazda CX-5 or even similarly priced ones. Let's go down a segment smaller with the Japanese brands. So yeah, the CX-30 feels sportier. Subaru Crosstrek feels more nimble, much more rigid, much more like one unified piece structurally. The steering is also typical Chinese car din na it's not that full of feel. It doesn't even feel direct, but it is light. It is perfect for those who want a comfortable crossover SUV. And with this steering in normal mode, because I actually put the steering in sport mode, the steering is just too light. Like, kasi ang sobrang finger light niya. Lastly, let's talk about the brakes because with the car's braking system, usually kasi of course with plug-in hybrids or any electrified vehicle, yung first 10% ng apak mo or depending on how they tune the system, that is actually for the car's region braking and not the car's friction brakes. So, in for example, a Honda CR-V hybrid, mas maganda yung kanyang brake pedal feel because it feels very linear, it gets much firmer and more progressive, the deeper step into the brake pedal. Pero here in the X70 IDM, and this is also pretty much the case with a lot of Chinese plug-in hybrids, the first 10% ng iyong brake pedal feels a bit spongy kung sabihin natin. Again, the brakes are responsive naman, they provide a lot of stopping power, but it's more on the brake pedal feel na, once again, sabi ko nga, it's something that you're gonna get used to eventually the longer that you drive this car. Oh, and before I forget, let's talk about the car's 4-cylinder gas engine. So this is a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. And so I've been cruising mostly in pure electric mode, but when we put the car in hybrid mode to either charge the battery or just simply cruise in hybrid mode and preserve your current state of charge, so this car has a 2-speed direct hybrid transmission, and compared to the Planetary Gear ECVT that you would find in Toyotas or even in BYDs, for example, this system is pretty good. As we now enter into a highway, that is exactly what I'll be able to demonstrate to you. So yeah, even with the gas engine running, most of the car's power still comes from the electric motors and not the turbocharged 1.5-liter gas engine. So that means there's very responsive power delivery, and technically a 2-speed DHT is pretty much like a 2-speed automatic gearbox, but it perfectly does the job. Like, I mean, it's not as flexible as the Planetary Gear ECVT of Toyota or the one in BYDs, but it's pretty good enough here because it's very smooth with how it shuffles the power with the gas engine running. Refinement-wise, yun nga sabi ko nga, road and wind noise suppression is pretty good, but how good is it actually? So, as journalists, we really have to be objective with these things. And so, yeah, I actually bought myself a decibel meter para we can actually scientifically compare the noise levels of each car we review. And here in the X70 IDM, so this is 100 kph. How does this car perform in terms of noise levels? Yeah, so that's the figure we measured, 68.3 decibels. And because this is the first car so far that we've reviewed with this sound test, with this ambient noise level test, we don't have yet a barometer on how this car compares, scientifically speaking, with other crossover SUVs in general. Pero yeah, we're gonna be plotting down on our list of crossover SUVs on where the X70 IDM falls. And then last, let's talk about the car's fuel economy, because that is also one strength of the X70 IDM. Over a week's worth of use with this car, I've been using this car for about a week now. The fuel economy figure of this car has hovered around the 17 to 18 km per liter figure. So a Honda CR-V is still slightly more fuel efficient, but this is somewhat on par with the BYD Sealion 6. Then again, these things naman will be pretty much dependent mostly on your driving habits, since ang liit lang naman ng kanilang mga differences with their fuel economy figures. But yeah, this is an efficient crossover SUV because usually with plug-in hybrids, since you have a lot of empty dead weight with the battery, for example, kapag naubos na yung kanyang state of charge, or rather when it becomes slow, that will negatively impact your fuel economy figures. But yeah, here in this case with the X70 IDM, the fuel economy figure is actually pretty good. In fact, like the Sealion 6, you can travel more than 1,000 kilometers with this car ng full tank and when the car is also fully charged. Last, let's talk about the car's advanced driver assistance systems. So like any other Chinese crossover SUV naman, this car is fully loaded with all of the advanced driver assistance systems you need. So you have automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control. All of those things are standard here in the X70 IDM. Yun nga lang though, I have to admit na some of the systems are a bit too overzealous. So for example, with the car's lane departure warning, I already turned off the feature because onting dapis mo lang sa kanang lane markings are already pretty much enough to trigger the car's basically the warnings niya, no? So yeah, it's a bit irritating for me, especially if you're driving on a highway na hindi naman ganun kaganda yung pagkakapintura nung lane markings. And so yeah, apart from those stuff, the Jetour X70 IDM is a pretty good plug-in hybrid crossover SUV that is available with 7 seats. Pero ang tanong ngayon dyan is, which vehicle are you better off? Should you get this over the Sealion 6? Or if you truly want a 7-seater crossover plug-in hybrid, do you have other alternatives to choose from? Let us just say na overall, the BYD Sealion 6 is still the more polished vehicle. Basically, the main selling point of the X70 IDM is its third-row seating and siguro to some people, its DC fast charging capabilities. Worth checking out, however, is the new Tigo REV from its sister brand Chery, which is overall a more modern vehicle, and being a mid-size crossover SUV, it is also a size class higher. It is worth mentioning, however, that prices for the X70 IDM have recently been reduced to less than 1.5 million pesos, thus easily making this one of the most affordable 7-seater SUVs with a plug-in hybrid drivetrain.